Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Seattle Angel Workshop Series. Today, we're going to talk about the angel investor funding, pre-seed and seed level kinds of funding groups that we have in town. We'll start with a little bit of an overview, then we'll do a little bit of a discussion of the different groups with a little bit of Q&A at the end, and then we'll do breakout rooms where you'll be able to ask your important question for whatever group that you think is important. It will really help us if you would rename yourself about your company name or your role or something, so that as people are seeing you, that would be good. But while we're going, let's invite Elaine up here, and she will tell us about her great data collecting habit and how that's going to turn into some understanding for us.
So John, let's see if I can share my screen as well.
Yep, should work.
I think we're almost there, folks. All right, if we go, where is that little screen share?
The green thing on the bottom.
Yeah, no, I have too many things open. Okay, now we got that screen too.
I think she's done this before.
All right, let's see. Okay, team, can you see?
Yep, looks good.
You can see the national, regional, local insights,
Yep.
2023, 2024.
Yep.
All right, we're good to go. All right, thanks everyone for coming. My name is Elaine Werfley. I have been associated with SAC since SAC 7. It is now, we're going to kick off in the fall, SAC 26. You can do the math on that one. Been around a while as an angel investor. I am here because I am a total data geek. So if I put my love for angel investing and data together, what I'd like to bring to you is the latest data that we have in store to help you, whether you are a founder or a funder. And so today I will be bringing you data from 2023 and 2024, and hopefully by the end of this brief little introduction of the highlights, you'll come away with some new tidbits. Please feel free after the presentation to come find me if you have any questions. Happy to share everything that I can. So in this next section, we will, it's hot off the presses, went to PitchBook's Q2 Venture Monitor for, and so we have information through 2024 Q2. So again, it's not going to be a surprise of what I'm going to tell you from either side of the table. When we look at 2024, the first quarter of 2024, it didn't start on a high note in the US venture capital community. Q2, we're still seeing the market headwinds remain, and pressure on the market has really only increased. Inflation stickiness that caused the Feds to stay with the rate stance that they've had for higher and longer. And that has had definitely continuing effects. Deal making continues its slowdown that has been caused by both limited exit opportunities and investors preserving their capital. We are starting to see companies that raised 2 to 3 years ago that pushed out their financing through cost-cutting measures are starting to return to the market, looking for subsequent financing. You'll see that the number of companies that are in VC backed from PitchBook is at an all-time high now. In Q2, we're also seeing that the deal making activity remains slow. Deals are taking longer to close, higher bar in due diligence. So just so everybody's ready for that, if you haven't had to go through that yet. Investor-friendly climate for sure. Abundance of demand and opportunity, but there's a continued focus on existing portfolios. The investors have reduced their activity and are highly selective. They're circling the wagons to try and make sure that they're putting their fresh money into companies that are almost proven successful. So here is the where we see the VC-backed company count now is over 56,000 companies. So there is a lot of competition for capital. Investors now have more choices than ever. Benchmarks for deals have increased. Strong companies, though, are able to compel investment, while struggling companies will not be able to. When we dig down a little bit further, here is the data for pre-seed and seed through Q1 of 2024. And what we see here is that the deals have dropped while deal count has gone up slightly. So we see that value continuing to drop on several factors that we talked about. And startups have definitely had their options of taking bridge financing or trying to keep their latest round open longer, reducing their burn, extending their runway, all of those kind of things. When we think about what is this trend over a long period of time, the trend over the last 5 years for pre-seed and seed deals here shows that the deals themselves have been getting larger, right? But when we zoom in to just that comparison of 23 to 24, from a mean deal size perspective, pre-seed and seed actually remains stable on those numbers, on that value. So I want to point that out because there was a question of were we going to see any kind of drop in sizes? And this data, at least from PitchBook, is saying no. And the interesting, again, good news, I think, for founders is that the median pre-seed and seed pre-money valuations from 23 to 24 have seen modest increases. So again, we saw this huge increase in valuation in the frothy period before 2022, 23 slowdown. But those numbers, some of those numbers are holding at least between 23 and 24. So if you are one of the lucky founders that is getting funding, it's showing that those median numbers are kind of holding their own. What I will be great to hear tonight is for our local funders who are here tonight, which is they are the star of the show for sure, what they've been seeing lately and getting their insights as well on what they are looking for. When we look at another data source for 2023, I want to kind of just, again, remind us that when McKinsey and Company put out their Diversity Wins 2020 report, they showed from a data perspective that companies with diverse executive teams are more likely to outperform their peers. And so why is that important and why would I bring that up? Well, there is a positive cycle between angels and entrepreneurs that creates long-term growth. Over half of angel investors were previously founders in their own right. And there is this really nice feedback loop between angels and entrepreneurs. Also, when we look at some trends over time, the Center for Venture Research has recently put out their 2023 report, and I do use them as one source to look at women in angel investing. Now, I do have to say, self-proclaimed, this number, 47% for 2023 seems a little bit high to me. However, I am buoyed by the fact that over time we are seeing more females becoming angel investors and being active, because these numbers are active angel investors numbers. And why do I think that's so important? Well, it harkens back to that diversity slide we talked about, because when we start to do some comparisons, I'm not saying these are causal, but I do want you to see these trends side by side. So on the left, we have the number of women angel investors and how that trend has increased over time, 2004 to 2023, going from 5% to 47%. On the right, what we have is the number of entrepreneurs seeking funding from women-owned ventures. That has seen a similar increase, that we have angel and female angel investors on one side of the table, that's increasing, and on the other side of the table, more women-owned businesses looking for funding. And when we can kind of continue that comparison through the funnel, on the left, we move over and scoot over. This is that number of female-owned businesses that were seeking funding. On the right is the yield rate, meaning what percentage of those female-owned businesses that were seeking funding actually got funding. And so we can see that that trend has increased as well. So this is good for the whole ecosystem, good for investors, because as we talked about, it said, hey, up in front, they're more likely to have greater outputs, and it's much more diverse. So there's a whole set of diversity products and services that are available to a wider set within our ecosystem. And when we drill down into our own area here in Seattle, before I share this slide, I just want to have a big thank you. We have such a supportive set of angel investing funders. We have them, they come in different flavors, from angel event funds, networks, micro VCs, venture builders, VCs, but across the board, without question, it is such a positive community, and the people here are just a portion of that, and how they're willing to be able to share their insights with us on an ongoing basis. But I do want to make sure I tip my hat, because today you will see data from 18 organizations here in the Pacific Northwest that have shared data with me over at least 10 years. And I feel very fortunate and honored that they are willing to do that, because that gives both angel investors as well as founders more up-to-date insight on the local area as well. So big kudos to all who participate there. So when I hop over, I do want to continue that strong female participation theme that we are seeing in Seattle angel groups here in town. So we do have many groups that have very strong female participation, which you would think could potentially have those same ongoing trends that we talked about, and correlations. This is the group of 18 funders that shares their data with us. You can see it ranges from event funds, active funds, networks, micro VCs, venture builders, and VCs. Stretches the whole spectrum here on what we cover in from pre-seed to Series A, even some Series B and Series C within a specific Madrona fund. You can see as a funder that it's super important to know that the average investment size changes dramatically depending on what stage focus the funders are in. So it's really important as a founder that you match yourselves with the right funder and begin those conversations early. So let's take a look and see. I have split the data into 3 different groupings. So this first grouping is when we see the average deal investments that the funds are making that are under 300K. So over here to the left, what we have is an axis that starts with a check size of 80K, goes over to 220K. And so and here on the y-axis is the number of deals that the different organizations made within 2023. So when we're looking at those funders to turn to for those first checks, those really early checks that are around that 100K piece, we have Flywheel Conference, we have Virtual Angels Network, we have First Row, Swan, and Transatlantic Angel Conference, all in here being places that those early founders can really start to kind of sharpen their pitch decks and look for some early funding. Over here, kind of on the right, over the 150K check size on average, we've got a large number of deals coming from E8, and Kathleen is here today to talk about that. Startup Haven, Seattle Angel Conference, Graham and Walker, and Untapped Ventures. So if you are in that pre-seed, seed stage, these are some of the funders you should be getting to know. And specifically tonight, it will be great that you'll have that opportunity. In that next tranche, what we have here is now we've opened up. Everybody we saw on the last slide is now down here in these little blue bubbles. And the horizontal axis here has now gone up to 700K. So the new players in town we have is Allen AI, AOA, and Keiretsu. And you can see the increasing deals that they're associated with as we go up the y-axis. And last, but certainly not least, when we move over again and we look to larger check sizes, we have Madrona in town with their core fund, and do want to make sure there was a point in time where I thought Madrona was only interested in Series A plus, but in the Madrona core fund, they do look to fund pre-seed, seed, and Series A. So it doesn't ever hurt to start conversations early with those guys. But however, the Madrona Acceleration Fund is saved for their Series B and Series C. So that's kind of the lay of the land that we have here locally. Tonight, we are honored by these funders here tonight, and I will turn it back to John so they can introduce themselves and we can get on with the show. Thank you so much for sharing, and hope you're able to grab a couple of highlights from the latest data.
Thanks very much. Hopefully you can turn off your screen so we can get the broader picture. Yeah, there we go. Thanks very much. And so today we're just going to do little short introductions from each of the groups, and then we'll do a little Q&A. While we're doing that, let me bring folks up to the table by spotlighting things. I can get a core number of people up here. Greg, would you like to start while I'm spotlighting everybody?
Yes, hi, thank you so much, Elaine. That was wonderful. Fantastic presentation. Really appreciate those insights. And hello, everybody. My name is Greg Hill, director at Keiretsu Forum Northwestern Rockies. And we're been around, as you can see, since about 2005. And I will share my screen here. I have 12 slide presentations. I'll try and keep it as succinct as possible for everybody. Okay, so a sec here. And if my audio gets a little jittery, please let me know. I'll shut my video off and we'll go from there. Okay, cool. All right, let's go full screen. And All right. Keiretsu Forum operates globally as a global brand, but each region is essentially a license holder to the brand. So we represent Northwestern Rockies, which bleeds into British Columbia and Alberta, Canada. And we kind of dip our toes in Utah, Colorado, Idaho, and but mainly our mainstay is Seattle and the Washington State area. We do have our upcoming Investor Capital Expo coming up at the Hyatt Regency in Bellevue. That's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. On August 14th, 15th, and 16th. The Friday is a boat cruise. So if you want to wear your captain's hat and your summer dresses, please join us. It'd be a lot of fun. But we typically have about 15 to 16 companies that present. And it's always a good opportunity to come out. Again, we have a global footprint, 60 chapters, and about 3,000 members. Our membership's about 400 active accredited investors. Great to see Michael Stein on the line here, one of our great members, and a variety of other partners. Keep moving through here. Some of our metrics: funding for 2023, 73 million into approximately 112 companies. The median amount was 652,000. PitchBook ranks us in a pretty tough category with some big names that are, I would say, not necessarily in our same category, but some pretty great rankings. And our team works really, really hard. We've been ranked with the Halo report with the Angel Research Institute as #1 for last year, I believe. And we work really, really, really hard. We want to see entrepreneurs succeed. And if there's a great fit for your company, if you're raising capital, come talk to us. Okay. Typically, where we fill in the funding gap is companies that are kind of post-seed, pre-Series A. We fill that really well. So if you're raising between 1 and 5 million, that's kind of our sweet spot. And we'd love for you to come to a presentation, see how we do things virtually. We also do in-person events. We're going to be in Vancouver, BC next Tuesday. We have 110 people registered, and that's going to be a pretty great crowd. Okay, yeah. So we essentially operate where we get an application in, and then we have our angel accredited investors set up a committee for life sciences, technology, and clean tech. They'll review, and then we'll invite company to our deal screening. It's a free opportunity to get in front of a group of maybe about 50 investors online, and they'll vote and give you feedback. If you get above 50% in the invite, delay, or deny, then we invite you to our forum meetings. We do that the second week of every month, and then we do due diligence. And that report actually really helps you move somebody that's soft circled into a check writer. So we found that this has been a pretty effective process, and we keep trying to get better. Funding ecosystem, yeah, we do tap into global companies, mostly North American. We've seen companies come from Germany and the UK and Israel, but that's pretty far and few between. So we kind of have that footprint there. We do have a syndication network. There's no cost or fee. We currently have 76 angel groups in our network, and this includes a couple of funds and some ecosystem adjacent accelerators and things like this. And we're always looking for new partners. You get a free membership in Keiretsu, which is normally $3,500 a year, and we help share deal flow. So I'd love to have you come in. I'm your guy if you want to talk about syndication. Here's our makeup: about 35% clean tech. We do a lot of life sciences. 35%. That might lean closer to 50. And sorry, I'll go back one. And then we do, I would say, maybe 20% clean tech, and then you get weird like peanut butter and jelly and kind of everything between that entrepreneurs can cook up. Pretty fun. This is a sample of some of our due diligence reports that are usually 50 to 80 pages, formatted and written up. And it's not a sales document. It's just it's a facts document. But it really, at the end of the day, you can use it as a tool to raise some capital. So if you have any more questions and you'd like to hear from us, please feel free to take a screenshot of this or reach out to me. My name's Greg Hill. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks. Can you lower your screen for a second? Great.
Yeah, you bet.
So this is our collection of speakers. I think we have most of them here. I will try and make sure I get everybody and walk through it. Jonathan, would you like to do the next one?
Sure. Let me get my slide up here. Switch it to screen. Okay. Hi, my name is Jonathan Cagle. I'm one of 3 managing partners in a new group called VentureUs. I'll start right out by saying we're focused entirely in the Pacific Northwest. Well, Pacific Northwest plus, if you're Canadian, the Pacific Southwest, I guess. So we also cover BC. And we come from a heritage that includes Seattle Angel Conference, what became the Seattle Angel Fund, which then became Sea Change. And we brought it forward with about 4 dozen limited partners now. And we're already deploying capital. Our check sizes range from about 150 to 350, 400K. And we focus on no particular verticals as long as you are seed or pre-seed and venture scale. We learned a lot from COVID. Among the things that we learned from COVID is that having a really well-organized system using online resources, things like Zoom, can bring people together. But at the same time, we learned that there's a lot of value meeting people in person. So every month we have an all membership meeting, hold them in Mercer Island. We invite entrepreneurs to go, not just because it's good to meet the founders and to chit chat, but they're products that you can try. And there's a certain something you don't get when you're purely pitching in front of a Zoom meeting. And our membership, the number of people who show up to these meetings, shows that that is something that's valuable. In addition, by being in the Pacific Northwest, not only can we connect people and have a critical mass of someone, if we don't know you, there's a good chance that one of our members will know you or know someone who knows you and can make connections, can build alliances, can find customers, and really add more value. And then finally, if you can visit a facility, try the product, et cetera, more than in a virtual way, oftentimes that brings a lot of value. But our group is a little different from more angel groups. It's not really a network. It's somewhat of a hybrid between a VC and an angel group in that we have a professional team of partners, and we're guided by Sue Preston, who's been around in a lot of different ways. She works with us to help organize things. And we take advantage of the diverse backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives of our members for finding new companies, for due diligencing them, and for making really smart decisions. And then the last thing we learned is that we need to be thoughtful about not just adding value to companies that come through us, but also to go with the speed of the deal. Oftentimes, especially these days, we get in very early. We like to work early on with entrepreneurs. And so sometimes we get very early deals, and that takes longer. At the same time, we also sometimes get deals that have already been through due diligence and coming from other groups, and we can move at the speed of the deal. We meet with an investment board every single week, so we can go as quickly or as slowly as the deal demands. So I know we have a lot of stuff to cover. I'm looking forward to meeting some of you in the breakout groups. Thank you.
Well, thanks so very much, Kathleen. I'm going to bring you up. That didn't seem to work like I expected it. Let's try that again. Kathleen? There you go. Ready when you are.
Got it. Hi, I'm Kathleen Hebert. I am E8 board chair. I'm also the manager of the Decarbonate Fund, which you'll hear a little bit more of. E8 is advance. Why is it not advancing? Here we go. I'm just going to do it through there. E8 is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to accelerate the transition to a greener future. We do that by investing in climate tech, solely. So 100% of our investments are climate tech in a broad range of definition. I'll get to that more in the future slide. We were founded in 2006 as Northwest Energy Angels. We transitioned to E8 in 2015 because we realized that not only we were no longer just Northwest, but also we were not just doing energy. We were doing everything from circular economy to water security, et cetera. We are represented now by more than 130 member investors. We have a really big, broad tent. We not only have individual angel investors, but we represent families and foundations, and we are also kind of a pipeline source for other organizations and early stage funders who are looking for climate tech deals. We operate in the US and Canada. We do have some international members, I would say from Singapore to Great Britain, but in reality, most of our membership is actually headquartered in the US. We have invested in over 150 portfolio companies, and we have over $62 million invested. What we invest in is a broad set of things. As long as it's climate tech and you can show your benefit in the long run, we have investments across wind, solar, green buildings, smart grid, et cetera. However, all of our investments have companies based in the US and Canada, unless you have a funding arm that is US based. We invest in pre-seed to Series A. As you saw in Elaine's data, we generally average about $175K per our investment in a company for the first round. That has a wide range. We have invested as low as $75K and as much as more than $500K. It depends on the deal, the investment, and the uptake with our members. We have done convertible notes, equity, project-based financing, basically anything that helps us further the meaning of, or the goal of advancing climate tech and supporting early stage innovations that can actually transition. One thing that we also do that's kind of unique is every summer we shut down our regular funding, which we do from September through May. And then June, July, and August, we focus on a fund called Decarbonate. Decarbonate is a philanthropic impact fund. We get funding from large foundations, from individual DAFs, et cetera. All this is invested through our 501c3 partners at Realize Impact, and that makes the money invested tax deductible, and the returns tax deductible as well, as long as you continue to invest it in, roll the money into a 501c3. We are in the middle of this year's Decarbonate 2024. This year's theme is renewable energy. We had 88 companies apply. We're already down to our semifinalists, and there are 8 semifinalists. If you have more interest, come see us. Next year, we'll have a completely different theme again, but we love, obviously, our Decarbonate funding companies. If you're interested in learning more about E8 or joining E8, reach out to our director, Karen Kidder at E8 Angels. And if you're an entrepreneur interested in applying, feel free to link to our website. Again, as long as you can clear the barrier of being a climate tech company. And that's it.
Cool. Thanks so very much. Nate Beck, you're next.
Hello. Okay. Let me just quickly pull this up. I prepared some stuff. Okay. I think someone else might be sharing.
Kathleen, can you lower your slides, please?
Yes. Sorry, I thought I had already stopped them, but thank you.
All right, can we see that?
Yep, looks good.
Cool. Yeah, so we are a Seattle-based pre-seed venture capital fund. Our average check size is 500,000. So it was started in 2019 by Kirby Winfield, the man on the left there. We do primarily AI, machine learning, and B2B software. So our thesis is around AI native business-to-business software. So that means we don't touch consumer or hardware and no life sciences, unfortunately. But what that means is we're looking for the next gen CRM, the next gen HR company. But on top of that, we also do HR we also do infra. So we do kind of along the AI stack. We'll also do like a computer vision model or more dev tools and stuff like that. But we're primarily focused on the B2B software. Just to kind of give you a brief rundown on the team, there's 4 of us on the team now. Kirby Winfield used to be an operator. He was part of a founding team of 2 companies that went public, including Marchex and GoToNet, 2 that he sold, one to Expedia and one to another Texas firm. And so he has a ton of operating experience and has been running the fund since 2019. We have about 80 portfolio companies now, 60 of which are in Seattle. So that means we're pretty bullish and biased towards the Pacific Northwest. Myself, I joined in January. Prior to this, I was a reporter at GeekWire, where I covered startups and venture capital. So I built that relationship with Kirby along the lines of I've talked to a bunch of startup founders and asked them dumb questions, and now I can do the same as a reporter, kind of on the top of funnel thing and developing those memos and keeping an eye out on the ecosystem. Before I joined, Jen Haller joined. She's now a partner. She's also our chief of staff. She's not on the investment side of things, but does everything from portfolio management, community events, and we'll do everything from signing a credit line to hiring your next chief technology officer. She's been in the Seattle ecosystem for 20 years and has developed a really big network. So she's been super valuable for our portfolio companies. And we're really excited. We just brought on Thomas as an analyst. And so he's doing a lot of our technical diligence and building internal tools for us to develop our own CRM and kind of play with different models that we've come across. And that's really given us more eyes on the ground when it comes to the latest in technology breakthroughs. I guess we'll kind of go into what our thesis is around technology and AI. We're really investing in AI right now. It's very competitive. It's very hard. So we're really looking for technical co-founders. This usually is AI researchers or engineers coming out of Microsoft, Amazon, the University of Washington. And we're looking for, some kind of cloud or hardware strategy to compete against the big dogs. And usually when they're going after a vertical set, whether that's HR or, HR for the construction industry, we look for a team that can develop or acquire unique data sets. Maybe that's, domain experience or connections to the industry. Some of our portfolio companies to the right here to kind of illustrate the breadth that will go. There's Overland AI, which is developing an autonomous AI stack for off-road vehicles. And so that's their autonomous tank there. We've also done Atypical AI, which is an education chatbot based on educational textbooks. And so that's they're going the B2B route, but we're kind of agnostic when it comes to the specific vertical, but with a unique focus on that. We'll go up and down the AI stack. I won't go too much into this, but here is sort of what we've been working on. So like I was saying before, I've been kind of eyes on the ground in Seattle for what is going on in AI. We've developed this market map, and part of my job is developing and publishing research kind of across the stack with AI. And so that's pretty much us. We're on Fund 2 right now, which is a $25 million fund, about 60% deployed. And we're going to be raising our Fund 3 in January. And yeah, that's pretty much its end.
Cool. Thanks so very much. Joe, you're next.
Hey everyone, here to talk a little bit about Alliance of Angels and our Alliance of Angels Innovation Funds. Little background on Alliance of Angels. We're one of the largest, most active angel groups in the Pacific Northwest, continually growing, and we're up to over 180 members now. We have monthly meetings where we present deals to the entire group. And we invest as a group in about 20 deals a year. Our average investment between the group is between 250 and 500,000, with about 4 to 6 million invested annually between all the members. About half of the companies that end up presenting at our member group get funded by the group, and we screen about 150 deals per year. We have such a diverse group of members, and we really can add a lot of credibility for future funding. We tend to help bring in additional sources of funding once we jump into a round, and that's why over 80% of our companies that we do invest in do end up successfully competing the round. We have a variety of other angel groups and a few VC firms that do also attend our AOA meetings. So it's not just individual members that end up investing through the Alliance of Angels meetings. And we also try to bring a lot more than just money to the table for any companies. We have a lot of deep business expertise, and we have a lot of members that come on as advisors or help startups once they present in our group. And we even have a lot of different office hours. So entrepreneurs, both ones that did receive an investment from AOA and also others that would like to or learn more, are welcome to attend our office hours. A few years ago, we also launched our member-led innovation funds. These are annual member-led funds that we build to help give easy diversification for our membership. We, as a fund, invest in about 15 deals a year. And we actually just closed our third fund with another growth in investment size. So our first fund was about 1.3 million. We made 12 investments, and these funds do primarily focus on the Pacific Northwest. However, that's not a requirement for both AOA nor the fund. Second fund saw some good growth to 1.9 million. And both of these funds, all of the companies are still in business. We haven't had any exits yet. It's been 2 years, but we're really happy about the success rate so far of the companies. And we actually just closed on our third fund with a little over $2 million invested. We plan to make 15 investments, 12 of those to new companies, and we're actively accepting applications for funding both through the group and for the fund. You can learn more at allianceofangels.com.
Cool. Thanks so very much. Nate, I'm bringing you up next.
Right. All right. So thanks, John. And so Swan Venture Fund, we formed in 2015, co-founded it with Peter Weiss, 24 total investors. We've brought that up to 68 total investors among our 3 funds. We're nearly fully deployed on Fund 3 into about 16 companies. We typically invest in pre-seed and seed stage startups, often in the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast. Although we do make exceptions for the exceptional companies. I think in any one particular company, we can invest up to 300,000 in total, but I'd say usually we're writing smaller checks than that. And so we formed this firm when we're looking at the market in the Pacific Northwest. A lot of angels would enter the market and they didn't really know where to go. And oftentimes, if they didn't know where to go, they would sort of cycle out of the market. After about 2 or 3 years, they'd be really enthusiastic. They'd want to give back to their communities. And then they just run out of cash. They'd allocate it. So, and typically, there's sort of a second cycle for some investors who want to stick around. Typically, it's 7 or 8 years. They'll cycle out of the market for lack of liquidity. We felt like investors really just needed to get enough diversification. And I think it's just a lot of time that investors have to put into building a portfolio of angel startups. And angel funds can help diversify and properly on a plan. So we form this fund every 2 or 3 years. We're about done with Fund 3. We'll be on Fund 4 pretty soon here. And I'd say our focus is on quality over volume. I mean, that's a bit misleading. I look at about 1,200 companies a year, but we're bringing that to the group, about 6 to 8 companies per month will actually be pitching our partners, and we'll be working through our process with those companies. And I'd say that in terms of process, it's very active among all of our members. We make decisions collectively, we meet monthly, and we rely on the expertise of our members. So oftentimes the what interests the group will depend upon how our membership is composed. But we have invested into B2B software companies. I'd say Fund 3, for the most part, we've been investing in that, or medical devices. But I always like to look at market accelerating technologies. That's very vague, but I like to use that as a sort of something that can unlock value in a market, or capital efficient hard science companies. I did mention medical devices. Health IT is something we've been investing into recently. For some reason, that's a blind spot in the Seattle community. It is typically B2B software in health, and that usually that can scare some investors away who say they're B2B software for some reason. I'm not sure. And then we do provide support and advice to our portfolio companies. We'll make connections. Sometimes we'll sit on the board, or we'll help facilitate really, really good governance structure so that companies can be more attractive for later investors. There was a question earlier about insights into the market, and I'll just mention what I see. Entrepreneurs are taking longer to raise money, and so you really do have to spend a lot of time qualifying the funds and the investors to make sure that they're current and they're interested in what you're looking at. And so oftentimes you want to network your way in, or through the entrepreneur community, get a sense for what the investors are looking for. But I'd say that the general trend has been that investors are really focusing on getting they're focused on companies that are really delivering on metrics. Growth is important, but I think a lot of pressure from the LPs onto the VCs have pushed VCs to be a little bit more disciplined, because they work for their investors. So I would say that entrepreneurs really focused on building value, and maybe you have to raise a bridge round if you can't quite get to where the VCs want you to be, or if you can have a conversation with them and they're giving you feedback. But I'd say qualifying investors will save you a lot of time, in terms of if you're raising your seed round and you're talking to investors who, if you go on Crunchbase or other relatively public sources, and these sources are saying, hey, this fund invests in Series A companies for the most part, and you're raising a seed, then that would be time wasted if you're trying to pursue that individual. So I would say really focus on who's most likely to fund, and also use your network to connect with investors to get a better sense. So I'd say networking is your best approach in meeting investors, and then just focusing on your metrics, because ultimately your business has to survive if it's going to be a dry time, right? So anyway, that's just what I'm seeing in the market. The question was asked, so I just wanted to share that, and that's it for me.
Cool. Thanks very much. Sorry. Bringing Kristan up next. There you are. And let me bring up Waverly. There you go.
Hey, so thanks everybody for joining us. I'm Kristan Orden. I'm the lead investor for the next round of the Seattle Angel Conference, and Waverly was the lead investor for the last round. So you've got both of us here to talk a little bit about our experience with Seattle Angels. So I'm just going to go through a few slides about what we are, but Waverly, jump in if I miss anything. So a little bit about us. we're definitely on a mission to build the Seattle startup ecosystem by creating more founders and funding more startups. So we're very much an event fund. You can think of us sort of like a cohort-based applied learning model where we bring in a crew of 20 to 40 investors who each provide checks of $5,000 each. And then we spend 3 months together learning all about everything, what it means to be an angel investor, and getting to know some of the startups that that have applied and are part of it, our fund. We are typically looking at pre-seed or seed. We like to see a little bit of traction, but we are investing in the earliest phase. We're sector agnostic, trying to break out of the sort of Seattle stereotype that is only investing in medical companies or SaaS. So that's one of the things I'm focused on, is to try and see if we can broaden our horizons a little bit. And like I said, it's learn by doing. So really sort of connect. I've really enjoyed getting to know all of the investors that I've worked with, and by participating. And then it's very, very personable for the startups that work with us. They're very early stage. They typically are just learning what it means to put together their deal room, what it means to sort of do a good job with the pitch. And we're working with all of our investors to help them, our startups, to help them understand how to do that better. And then practice due diligence. So that's my favorite part of this, is we break it down to 6 investors here, or 6 startups. I'll just show this. And we get to spend, about 3 weeks understanding who they are and what their hypothesis is for their business, and how it is that they see themselves growing. So typically we start with we'd like to get, 50, 60 startup companies. I think last time, Waverly, we had over 100, right? It's a really big group. So, they come in first and give us all 1-minute pitches. And I personally have made myself available to coach companies before they go in for the pitch. So I've done a little bit of that to help them. But and then there's some Q&A, breakout rooms, and that sort of thing. We vote down to 24 quarterfinalists who then give us 3-minute pitches. We typically will do some one-on-one meetings to get to know the founders a little bit more. And then we break that down to another 12 semifinalists, and they will give us 10-minute pitches, at which point we really start on the due diligence. So once we've selected those 6 semifinalists, or finalists, sorry, we spend those 3 weeks going back and forth, talking to their talking to your advisors, helping you build out your deal room, looking over and improving your financials, all of those things. And then we end up with a winner who gets the check, so that summation of all of our investment. But we typically also have a couple of sidecar investments that we do as well, which, means that there'll be other investors who come, or like last time, we had 6 amazing companies that were finalists, and I think 3 of them were sidecars. So, some of the investors get together and invest in those as well. This is a quick look at the companies that we've invested in the past. We've had 25 rounds. Like I said, we're on our 26, 30 winners and 46 companies invested in. I've really, Cath Connect was, for example, one of the companies that we invested in, which is a medical device company. Homeostasis is one of our sidecars that is in the climate tech arena. So, you know, a whole diversity in terms of the startups that we've invested in. I don't know, Waverly, do you want to talk about any of these? Which are your favorites?
Oh gosh, so I was going to be biased and say the ones that were in the Saks that I were in, but I think they're all kind of interesting because, you know, through the process, one of the things you get to see is the company evolution and how even the company changes over the span of, you know, that 12 weeks. So it's kind of a journey that you go on, and then obviously once SAC is over, we're still on the journey. So I think what's cool about all these different companies is they kind of unite with us and as well as the other investors from past cohorts, almost to form a community.
Great. So for the next round, which we are starting at the beginning of September, the signups are due at the end of August. So here's a quick look at our timeline. We meet every Tuesday evening for a couple of hours as we go through all of those different rounds that we were talking about there. There's a lot of, as an investor, I've really enjoyed expanding my networks, and you know, now I don't feel like I need to do due diligence on my own. I've got a whole crew of people that I can call on to help with due diligence. And then as a startup founder, I feel like I've been able to actually invest in people versus a company or an idea. You know, we really get to know our startup founders. So quick look, will be done right before Thanksgiving, and we're going to start right after Labor Day. I just wanted to say a little bit about me, just since I'm going to be leading this next one. And everybody, one of the things that we work on really hard as we go through the cohort is for people to build out their impact or their investment thesis. Mine's all around impact, and you'll notice that's the SDG color wheel there. I stole this from somebody, but it's really my investment thesis is understanding an environmental and social impact, looking for inclusion and diversity in the founders and their approach. And so I've been able to sort of develop that and hone it as I've gone through several different of these rounds. I don't know, Waverly, can you in one sentence, it's very hard in one sentence to talk about your investment thesis?
Well, I think when I first did SAC a few rounds ago, I came in so much about product and idea, and maybe that's the big tech background. But actually where I landed more is about the founder and growth and how they show up over the different months and how they think about team and culture. So I think I've now done like a 360 into really caring about, you know, kind of what that person's thoughts are like and how they evolve and how they think about growing a team. And that really impacts how I look at a company.
Cool. So my last slide, if you don't find me here, I'm out on my sailboat. So if you want to attend the conference, here's a link to sign up. Oh, and then if you go to this, you'll also see an investor sign up as well as a founder sign up. So it's a place for you to apply to be part of it. And here's a little bit more of my contact information. Happy to talk to you one-on-one, you know, whether you're a founder or an investor.
Well, thanks so very much. Next, we have up the AI Incubator, Partha.
Hello, everybody. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right. Should pop up in just a second. All right, let me know if you're able to see the presentation now.
Yeah, it looks good.
All right, perfect. Hello, everybody. I am Parsa, and I'm going to walk you guys through AI2 Incubator and what we do. As you can see in the name a bit here, we are a AI first incubator, and we typically focus on any industry or vertical really, but with an emphasis on artificial intelligence. We aim to work with founders and get them prepped so that they can go off to raise their pre-seed seed rounds in 6 to 12 months of time with us. And we have just over about 30 AI companies funded now in our decade of existence here. So why do entrepreneurs partner with us? Well, we have a bit of a track record with launching successful AI companies, and I'll walk you through some case studies here. We also help them get access to VCs and our network across Seattle and through the relationships that we've built over the last decade. We do our best to curate an environment where, with the help of our experts in-house, as well as just the various resources that we provide with them, including compute, to just enable them to create the best possible company while they are, quote unquote, incubating inside of the incubator here. So I think I may have missed a slide on team, so I'm going to go back to this. All right, sweet. So we have a number of experts here and across all of the members of our team. There's 7 exits, combined 50,000 citations, and 60% of our directors have technical PhDs, which is pretty sweet and differentiates us a bit in the sense that we really do emphasize technical and AI first focus with respect to the companies that we bring into the incubator and eventually build here. You can kind of also see that we have a number of support roles. Me, myself, I help teams out with customer discovery end-to-end, as well as building out workflows, processes, systems, and just different automations to help enable more efficient customer discovery for the teams in-house. We have Jenny, who has a bit of a special, I guess, experience with life sciences and bio. Ifan, who recently had 2 exits, then came and joined us here and is now a managing director with us, who's been supporting our founders. Oren Etzioni, UW professor, a very well-known guy over. He founded this incubator originally with Paul Allen, so he's pretty well established in the Seattle scene, as well as Vu, which was the first engineer at Semantic Scholar, spun out of the main Ai2 Institute. Jacob, 2 exits of its own. So just generally a very technical team with a diverse set of experiences with respect to building companies with the aim of just helping our incubees really succeed and go out to raise great pre-seed or seed rounds. So let's, I guess, quickly gloss over these, as I don't want to repeat too much of the things that I've already chatted about here. But I think what we like to differentiate ourselves with is that we're not letting in too many people in each year. So we work very hands-on with all the different companies that we do end up letting in and do our best to be there for every step of the process to enable them to succeed in any way that we really can. We also help with the other parts of building a business, like the recruiting part, which can be very difficult, especially when trying to attract technical talent. So our unique affiliation with the Ai2 Main Allen Research Institute really helps attract technical talent for these teams that are working on these type of problems to solve. So quick case study of a company that we incubated here, Xnor AI. They were acquired by Apple for $200 million in 2020, and what they focused on was pretty much AI models that could run on at the edge. Eventually got acquired for this specific technology, and it got implemented into the iPhones, which is pretty cool. And another quick case study is ChipStack that we have that we had recently incubate. They had a $7 million seed led by Khosla, and they focus more on the chip design process, as well as AI that can enable more efficient chip design for companies. So yeah, and that's all from me on Ai2 Incubator. If anyone is interested in learning more, they're free to visit our website.
Cool. Or come to the breakout room. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
I'm bringing up Michael next. If you could drop your thing,
Yes,
Partha.
it's doing that now. All
Yeah,
right.
Michael.
Yes, thank you. Thanks everyone. My name is Mike Stein. I'm an angel investor. I've been doing it since around 2012. I'm a member of Swan and former member of AOA, and I'm presently a member of Keiretsu. But I'm here tonight. I'm also a member of Virtual Angels Network, which was founded a few years ago by a friend of mine, Dan Delmar. Dan couldn't be here tonight, so he asked me to, if I could attend. He didn't say anything about slides. He didn't give me any data, so maybe you won't be too upset. I'll keep this really short. Virtual Angel Network it's not a fund. It's basically a group of angels from all over the country. It's only been around, I think, 4 years. So we have around 25 members, I believe, but from all over. It's modeled after Dan's experience with the Harvard Business School Alumni Angels group out of New York. And so it's structured in that way. The members are MBAs and medical doctors, PhDs, and I happen to be an attorney, but they let me in anyway. And we meet quarterly. We try to present 4 or 5 companies every quarter. The members collaborate, work together on companies that they're interested in respect to due diligence, but everyone makes their own investment. I don't have hard data, but from what I've seen, I think the typical, check size, if you will, from companies that present might get 4 or 5 angels that will invest. And I believe it's usually, $25K a piece. So maybe 100 to 200K would be typical. And it's technology agnostic, although it's definitely early stage, mostly seed companies. I don't think I've seen anyone, with more than say a $50 million valuation come through. So they're early stage and technology agnostic. There does seem to be kind of a predilection to medical technologies, maybe because we have a number of physicians that are our members. And in the chat, I put a link to you can go to Virtual Angel Network. It's virtualangels.net is the website, and all of the investments and due diligence and whatnot are on the Gus network. And I put a link to that in the chat. And that's it. Thank you.
Well, thanks so very much. I'm going to attempt to bring everybody up and ask some questions. Let's see if I can do it. I need people to turn on their videos for me to make that work. Nate, Partha, if you would turn on your videos, that would be great. Have no easy way to do this other than hunt and peck at the moment. So Elaine, I'm bringing you up as well. Nate Doran, do you have a video you can turn on? There you are. Thanks. Yeah. He's on a phone call, of course, the best opportunities. Let's see, I need Joseph up here somewhere. So while I'm hunting for people, one of the questions is around the notion of round size. So Elaine asked, or divided things up into size. Pre-seed, seed, Series A, blah blah blah. What do those round things really mean in your mind? And then How do each of the angel groups think about that? Let's talk about that a little bit. Elaine.
Yeah, so great question. So when we think about it, there, gosh, I wish I like to think about it, and I have a great slide. I was just wondering if I could get it up in time, where the different rounds kind of align with different milestones of which the company has basically gotten to. Over the lifetime, we attach to product market fit, all the way up to scale. The pre-seed is definitely the early end, and I was just making sure I had those numbers right. What the slide was saying was that pre-seed number for pre-money valuation. Oh, you're asking round size, sorry. The round size for pre-seed in 2024 was 500K for median. I want to get a little pointy headed here for a second, because I know sometimes you'll see averages reported. In this data, there are even just one deal at the high end can skew those average numbers amazingly. So make sure you're always looking for that, the averages, or sorry, the medians. And then when we talk about seed, which would be that next kind of round, we're up at 3 million. So there's a big difference in terms of what a company has to do and metrics to make sure they get to that size. And I will turn it over to the rest of these fine funders here, because I am sure they have specifics that they're looking for on those metrics. And so it's great to hear straight from them.
Yeah, Joseph, I'd like to sort of start with you on that question. When you think about Series A versus seed versus pre-seed, you got any lines in your mind?
Not particularly. A lot of it really comes down to what the company needs and how they're going to spend the money. We have a lot of companies that we've had come into screening that are asking for certain amounts because they think at the age of their company they need to be asking for this, but they don't necessarily have a direct use for it. So that's one of the big ones, really saying, hey, this is the money we're looking for, this is how we're going to use it, and this is why we're looking for specifically this much. We've also seen companies that stay in a certain stage longer than you might expect, or move between them. There's I haven't seen like hard and fast rules for what we've been investing in companies at different stages. It really comes down to the individual company.
Well, anybody else have numbers they want to make sure that we say, when we say pre-seed, we mean this or whatever? Yeah, Jonathan.
The numbers are so variable. The labels have shifted over time, so it's really hard to define. To me, it's about where you are in terms of revenue, whether you're pre, post, or getting something, the status of your IP, all of those metrics that show traction with customers, technical progress, or maturity are far more interesting to me than the stage word. And in terms of numbers, the amount they're looking for funding, it varies so greatly depending on whether if it's purely a SaaS play, you can where the founders have a deep background, have a deep wallets, if you will, they can self-fund for a while. It's very different from a founder who maybe didn't come from wealth or has a need to build hardware or inventory. So we really look at it on a case-by-case basis, and I wish there were more precise terms that were used in the industry.
Yeah, all right. Nate, how about you?
I would say that two words come to mind. One is budget, and the other is, yeah, milestones. Budget are the two really. Cost of living is a driver in terms of how many people you can hire. You want to hit certain milestones to get to a certain stage, and either you're trying to bootstrap and you have certain milestones there, or fundraising is sort of against the whole bootstrapping idea. But if it's the only round you're ever going to raise, then you're not going to be able to get necessarily to the next round of funding because you won't be able to hit the milestones. But it's somewhat market defined. Y Combinator, I think they came out with a statement a few years ago saying that they're investing $500,000 into companies, right? Techstars, typically they invest 120 to 150, let's say, at roughly a $3.5 million valuation. And sometimes they're looking at companies that are both pre-revenue and pre-seed. So as an investor, I think of companies as, are you pre-revenue or post-revenue? Are you raising pre-seed? You can be pre or post and be raising pre-seed. So I just focus on budget. How many people do we have to hire? How are we going to get this company to the next set of goals with this money that we're going to raise? And then yes, look at the market. What are people funding right now? So round size is it's a hard one to pin, but it's market defined.
Right. Thank you. Kathleen, how about you? You're on mute. Kathleen, you're muted.
I'd say round size is very tough to pin down in climate tech, mainly because there's a wide diversity of types of technologies. It can be anything from super industrial intensive that's going to require large factory build outs, or it could be something that's a SaaS play. And those have very different funding needs. But for us, it's more stage of proof or to commercialization. So we would say pre-seed is usually something that is at bench scale or at proof of concept, whereas seed is something that is ready for pilot or has moved to close to some kind of pre-revenue. And then round A would be in revenue and in market or early commercialization or late pilots. One thing that some people have been mentioning, but I'd like to kind of just put a sharp point on it. Very important when you think of size of round and you think of runway, especially in this era of slowdowns and longer rounds. You need to not only think about getting to your next milestone that will get you to the point of proof, but also how many months of runway you're going to need to get there, because we've seen in the last year in particular companies coming back for bridge rounds where they have to go to down rounds because the funding has dried up and they hadn't calculated their runway long enough in this new era compared to what it was when it was flush in 2021. So watch your runway, watch your milestones, and look at what your company needs to get you to your next benchmark.
Yeah, absolutely. Kristan.
Yeah, and you just posted something about the milestones. I would just want to highlight that for a second, because I think that sometimes there's a startups will think that a milestone is, oh, well, that's the next time I raise money. Well, what we really mean by milestone-based funding is that you're able to articulate, when we give you this money, you're going to use it to grow your company by X. You're going to use it to acquire more customers, to expand your product line, to get that letter of intent, whatever it is. We want to see something really specific about what it is that you're going to be able to achieve with our money. Just like when you give your kid an allowance, what are they going to buy with it, right? So we really want to know what it is that you're going to be able to achieve. So I would really, those YouTube videos that John posted, really make sure you understand what we mean when we talk about milestones.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a couple of questions I want to jump together because I want to push people into the breakout rooms pretty quick. We use Gust at Seattle Angel Conference. Other folks are wanting to know what other tech-enabled mechanism for managing your deal flow you use. How many people, just click the raise hand button if your organization is using DLM.
I love DLM.
Yeah, anybody else?
I would say I love DLM too.
Yeah, anybody else using another tool besides Gust and DLM?
We're using Spark.
And what else? Everybody else using spreadsheets?
Virtual
Doran?
Angels uses Gust. I think I mentioned that before.
Yeah, all right. Nate Doran,
Yes, sir.
what are you using?
A little of this and that. Yes, some spreadsheets, some
Spreadsheets and
newsletters, email.
all right, fair enough. And Ascend, what backend are you using?
We have our own tool, and then we also use Notion.
Yeah, all right. And I know that Untapped Ventures has been building their own stuff as well. Yes. All right. We also have people asking about different verticals, like do you invest in hardware, and do you invest in travel, and do you invest in pharmacology and stuff like that. So anybody do hardware? Raise your hand. Yeah, right. And anybody do pharmacology? Raise your hand. Yeah. Well, we've had several pharma companies come through SAC. None of them have actually gotten anywhere, but they try. Caleb is asking ag tech. Is there any ag tech investment? We've done that as well. Yeah. So that's well. All right. And then we see a, yeah, I thought I had Keiretsu up here. So, oh, Elizabeth has asked me why I don't have Keiretsu up here. I'm going to take Christan down because I can only fit. Oh, no, I'll take Elaine down. Sorry. Thank you. And I will put Greg up there. That was my problem. Thanks. I knew I missed something. Greg. Poof.
There we go.
There you go.
Howdy.
I think you already said you do hardware and you do other medical stuff. So I think we're covered there. What back end do you use?
Yeah, we use Dealum.
Dealum, yeah. I
It's
thought
wonderful.
so. There was this migration to Procedure and then this migration away from Procedure to Dealum, and then everybody, yeah, all right. And then Mohammed just asked about fintech. Who doesn't do fintech? Yeah,
Who
all right.
does not do it?
Nate is the only one. So yeah, who does not do it, right? Because almost everybody does it, right? Even Kathleen will do fintech if it has a green bit in it. I bet that if there was a Bitcoin thing that allows you to reduce your carbon footprint, that there would be at least a pitch going into E8.
There was
Yeah.
a question about backend. FYI, we use Finally as our financial backend.
Oh, okay, cool. Fair enough. And there was some question about when we say pre-seed stage, how far along do we mean the company is, right? Are they two guys and a dog with an idea? Are they one guy with a working prototype and no customers? Just, what's the marker that makes them investable at a pre-seed stage? Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, so for us, the way we mentally framework it is it really depends on the founder. So when it's a senior vice president or maybe a C-level person or a repeat someone which was really strong credentials in a domain-specific space, we'll invest at the idea stage. We've made investments where where founders are 2 weeks out of AWS or Microsoft with basically little to nothing but a GitHub repo. But the flip side of that is a first-time founder or someone with less professional experience. We usually want to see some, like enterprise customers, quality of customers, not necessarily revenue, but POCs and the quality of those POCs and the actual go-to-market function of those POCs churning and converting into paid customers, I think is where we'll feel more comfortable with less experienced founders.
Cool, thank you. Jonathan?
Just real briefly, I come up with the term due diligenceable. We tend not to go just based on personality. We look for either a product, a prototype, a customer base, something that we can look at has a little bit of meat to them that shows that they have momentum or past experience that really demonstrates that they're going to be able to move ahead. We find that this helps us remove some bias that comes from just going after people who have been successful in the past or who come from a certain background. We really do like to focus and make sure that they've had some progress. And we think that's one of our key strengths, is looking into that and really going in depth about what the space is and what their solution is.
Cool. Thanks so much. Kathleen?
Yeah, and I will also, good points made by Jonathan. I would say the team is really important. Doesn't necessarily mean they need to have experience. But pre-seed, I would say there needs to be some sort of external validation of the idea. And that's, I think, echoing what Jonathan was saying, whether it's customers that, are ready to pilot, whether it's an outside national lab that has tested and reproduced the results, whatever it is, there needs to be some kind of external validation that makes it, check-upable, and it's not just the word of the founders.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there anything particular that anyone looks for when they're looking for a seed round, which presumably is after a pre-seed round and has some additional milestone? For example, I tend to say, if you're at seed and you're not doing a 1K MRR, then you're probably not ready. And if you're not 10K MRR, you're probably not ready for Series A. Are these broad enough hand waves?
Seems low to me. I like to think about product market fit. If you're a seed stage company, maybe you're just, there's early signals of strong product market fit.
What's a signal of product market fit at
well, revenue, but even if it's not revenue, if it's just users, even free users, or depending on the industry, if it's B2B, can we talk to some of your customers, see how excited they are?
Yeah, right. I don't believe in excited customers. I'm always pounding people to take the money and not be excited about their. But Kathleen, your hand is up.
Yeah, just probably along your lines too, paid pilots, where customers or outside people are willing to actually put at least a little money, maybe not the full money that it will be once it's commercialized, but they're willing to actually spend some money to try it instead of just try it for free.
Okay.
And just to add really briefly to that, to make sure that money is for the product and not for services and consulting, it's often easy to sort of create false ARR by doing consulting, especially if they come from the business. It's if you're a founder, we'll see every one of us will see right through it. Just don't show that they're spending money on the product that you're building.
Right. So in the pre-seed, getting revenue from consulting, totally happy. In the Series A, revenue from consulting that's more than 5-10% is like, oh my God, no. So there are different interpretations about revenue in a bunch of different ways. And we could talk on this for a long time, but I want you to be able to talk to these people directly. So I'm going to open up the breakout rooms and send you out. So feel free. I have assigned people to places. You can stay there or not as you want. You're able to move around. You should be able to see a breakout room and just click on it. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll stick around here. And then I have to figure out how to turn off the spotlights. There we go.